friends, and welcome back to another episode of Academically Dope. On Fridays, I've decided to let the graduate students weigh in. That means that you send me questions or concerns or topics that you want to hear me talk about, and I will answer them on Fridays. So last Friday, I posed a question asking graduate students, what is the single most important challenge that you find yourself in school? Overwhelmingly, about 85 to 90% of the students said time management. And if you know, time management is so crucial to the masterful execution of any higher education program or anything you're doing that requires you to focus. So I wanted to talk about time management with you, offer you some tips or food for thought on how can you more effectively use your time. The first thing, and I'm going to be using my notes because I did some research in order to prepare for this, because I know we're all scholars out there and I wanted to not be shooting from the hip, but I wanted to speak to you in an informed way. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that you need to understand your relationship to time. How has time worked for you or against you in the past? What has been your relationship with it? How have you thought about it? All of these things matter, because if you don't know where you're starting from, you're not going to be able to really gauge how much progress you've made. And this is also a timely discussion for me because I'm on a new level. I'm an assistant professor, and now I have to learn how to manage my time in a whole nother way. So this worked for me. So when I look back at my schedule and my lack of productivity in a lot of ways in higher education this semester, I'm like, okay, what did you do last year or the last 4 years that you didn't do now, that you're not doing now? You need to get to that. So I encourage you to understand your relationship with time. Also understand that time is a resource. Time is a resource of opportunity, not anything else, okay? The second thing is gauge your inner dialogue. Did you know that 95% of your actions are a result of your thought life? And if you're having these internal conversations with yourself about your lack of time management or your unworthiness or whatever the case may be, those start to come out in your actions. So you really need to change your inner dialogue, because what eventually happens, which is what I'm about to talk to you about in the third step, is that your external confessions reflect the nature of what's going on inside of you. So if you're thinking negatively, you're going to speak negatively, and you're going to act negatively. So that leads me into the third point. What is your outer expression, right? What people don't realize is that words have the power to create, period, right? If you have self-deprecating ideas about yourself, you're going to speak negatively about yourself. And there are enough things to coming at you to tell you that you're not good enough. You don't need you partnering with those other opinions, okay? So you need to take control over what you're saying out of your mouth. No, you may not be the best time manager right now, but what you can go from saying is, oh, I suck at time management, to, I really think that I can do better at time management, and I'm actively working to do that, right? That is a more positive confession. It ultimately gives you hope and something to remember and push forward towards, instead of just saying, I suck at this thing, right? All right. The fourth thing that you need to do is understand your values and your mission. Why did you go into a PhD program? What tenets of academia do you value? Is it research? Is it teaching? Is it service? What is it that drew you to a PhD or an MA program, right? You need to understand that, because those things are sometimes the only things that will get you through, right? I know it sounds so cliche and so easy, but if you don't remember the why, you cannot do the what. So what is your value? And also, what is your mission? What do you believe about the work you're producing? I believe in my own work that the spiritual nature of literature is highly important to those who read it. That's why I do it. My mission is to bring awareness to that stuff. That doesn't mean that everyone is going to toot my horn or give me kudos, but I believe it, so I'm going to do it. No one has gotten great off of what other people thought about their project. It's what you think about your project. So remember your mission. Do you want it to change the world? Do you want to bring more awareness? What is your goal? What is your mission? You have to remember those things. The fifth thing, and the rest will probably be more practical, is you need to think, okay? You need to think about what you have to do and how you're going to be able to approach it. This is before you write it. In your mind, you're always thinking, you're always taking inventory of things that need to happen. So it's nothing wrong with thinking through the things that you have to do today, I had a tongue tie, the things that you have to do during the day, and then thinking about possible ways to execute it before you sit down to pen them. There is power in that. So say for instance, you have 10 things on your agenda and all of them are equally important, do the smaller ones first. I used to try to do the big ones first and then do the small ones later, but that didn't make me feel productive. Sometimes you just have to trick your mind into believing that you were productive. So I would suggest you do the smaller ones first if all of them are equally pressing. If they're not, you need to do the more important ones first, okay? Then you need to go get you a planner. I did a video before about a planner. You need to write this stuff down. Not only do you need the month count planner, but you need the daily thing. You need to create lists. You need to create sub-lists. You need to rank them. You need to, think through them. You need to actually see the things that have to happen during your day, right? I know, you think you're a genius and you are, but you still need to see in order to effectively manage your time. As I was doing research, I came across this staggering fact that there's a rule that every minute spent in planning saves 10 minutes in execution. So if you spend 10 minutes in planning, how many minutes are you going to save in execution? A lot, right? You don't want to miss out on that. You don't want to just go in and jump in without an outline, a guide, or anything. Plan it. Understand that I have to do this thing and I need a best strategy. Don't work hard, work smarter, okay? I already told you to list them from high priority to low priority. And also never give more attention to the things that are least important over the things of most importance. Don't do that at all, okay? The seventh thing, you need to go to bed. You need to take a nap and rest. I know you're gonna feel like, oh, I don't have time to do that, Briana. I got so much stuff to do. When you're pushing your brain, as much as academics push their brains, you need a mental break. You need to go take a nap and lay down somewhere. You need to recharge. You need to take a rest. Even if you can't take a nap, take some time for your mind in the middle of the day where you're not eating, where you're not checking social media, where you're not grading essays, where you're not researching, just you. You need that time. I take a nap. I believe that it is a form of self-care, and I believe in rest. You need to do that in order to effectively manage your time. And it's not major. It just gives you a reboot for you can go into the next half of your task, right? It's not going to take anything away from you. In fact, it might add something to you. The eighth thing you need to do is work on one thing at a time. I try to multitask, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but overwhelmingly, it doesn't work for me. You need to focus on one thing at a time, right? And generally those, they're ranked from high priority to low priority. Work on one thing at a time. Don't try to, get a little done over here, get a little done over there, and, get a hole somewhere. No. Get everything done over here and then move to the things over there, okay? The ninth thing is you need to control your distractions. Here's where I'm struggling. Your phone. If you have a project and a busy day, on silent if you can, if you don't have children, or do not disturb, right? You need to control that. Oh, and social media too. Now with the Apple Upload, with the screen recording or screen time, it tells you, take inventory of how much time you're spending on social media, because that eats away a lot of your time. You need to understand that social media is a privilege and not a necessity. And ask yourself, why am I on somebody else's timeline? Anyway, the 10th thing you need to do is say no. Everyone does not deserve access to you, and you do not have to fulfill every request. Sometimes you just have to say no if you want to manage your time. No, I can't do that thing. It's hard to say, but it's worth it. So I hope that helped you, and I'll talk to you soon.